You spoke and the SP told you that he didn't mind he had ordered fresh investigations and didn't mind dropping current charges and filing new charges. Since that conversation, have you spoken to the SP again?
No, I think this was 2 weeks ago. We have not yet spoken, but I got from that conversation was that, look, I cannot give you timelines when this investigation will be done, and that if it is done, you would know. What that also means is that because I did not agree to testify until I got satisfactory answers, the investigator from Shraj was called to testify. And what that means is that if they drop the charges, his testimony will also be in vain. So if they have to start the case all over, it will be whether I will be prepared to go and testify again, and whether the Shraj person who has been cross-examined already would want to go and start again. So there are so many implications for this case, and that is why I think eventually it is becoming a foolish case. Because if your key witnesses are frustrated to the extent that they are not willing to subject themselves to this process again, the evidence they are supposed to tender in doesn't go. And from the way they are even handling this from their side, I don't know what else they are coming up with. So there are so many implications for this case, and everything looks to this case possibly becoming a foolish case, not because the courts have frustrated it. The special prosecutor had held a press conference to accuse the judiciary of some kind of hostility towards the office. But in this case that I witnessed, there was no such thing. Almost all the objections raised by the defense lawyers were overruled. All the evidence that I submitted was accepted. And if you look at everything that has happened, the judiciary has done its part. President Akufo-Addo acted excellently on this case. But everything that is making this case a foolish case is coming from the office of the special prosecutor. And mind you, this case is not as complicated as the SML and other cases. So the question is, if the office is messing up with this case this way, what kind of trust would people have in its handling of the other cases?
But Manasseh, somebody would argue that you need to take a good case to court, and you've heard current Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayine make the point that if he's not sure of securing a conviction, he wouldn't go to court. So maybe, just maybe, they're trying to make sure that they secure a conviction, isn't it?
Yes. So when they first went to court in 2022, nobody held a gun to their head to take the case to court. They had not completed an investigation and come to a position that they knew they could secure a conviction. Again, when they dropped the charges and filed again in 2024, they did not do that under duress. They said they were convinced that they had covered all the loopholes and everything. I am not a lawyer, I'm not a defense lawyer, but I took a journalist to punch holes into this case and ask for answers which they could not provide. And they are now telling me they are going back to do an investigation. So if they were not ready, why do you have to waste someone's time, put him in the box, he testifies, he's cross-examined by 2 sets of lawyers, almost a year and a half, you drop the charges, file again, you want him back? So if I had gone ahead to testify and there were these problems, would they say they would drop them and then refile so that they call me the 3rd time to come and testify? And when you speak to them, what they say is that, well, they have the power to file, drop and file as many times as possible. And then in Sami Dakun's closing remarks, he says, so yes, cases may take time, but if the aim is to build a strong evidential foundation, there is nothing wrong with that. What matters is that the case has not been discontinued, end of quote. And I don't think that is what matters. That is all that matters. You have the Republic of Ghana voting funds for you to do some work. So 2019 to 2025, if you look at their budget, expenditure and everything, their reports, this single case appears. So if it happens that you're supposed to do something and you don't do it, and you are spending money on the same case every year, and as we stand from 2019 to 2025, we are ending 2025, the case hasn't gone anywhere. So the question is, how many more years are we going to spend on this case? And how many more years are we going to allow a state institution that is supposed to safeguard the public funds to keep spending on this? And I've raised concerns about SML and then this case. These are cases that I'm personally involved and I know the details, so I can challenge them. The question is, what else may they be doing in the other cases that maybe some people don't have their eyes on, or perhaps for the fear of being accused of attacking an anti-corruption institution, they may not be bold enough to speak up the way I'm speaking up.
The question of what else they may be doing suggests to me that you don't trust this office. Is that the case?
I recently had cause to disagree publicly with some of the things they said. For instance, this office had created an impression that Ken Ofori-Atta left because they did not get cooperation from the state institution, so they watched him leave and they were helpless. I decided to do an independent probe, and it emerged that in the old and this new administration, none of the institutions that often stops people at the airport was ever contacted. This office claimed, and the special prosecutor himself went to sit on KSM's show and claimed that the SML investigation began in 2023 December. They worked throughout 2024, and when they were talking about it in January 2021, they knew what they were sitting on. I knew straight away that that was false because I had constantly asked them when they were going to start the SML investigation, and they had given me excuses why they were not starting. And before they started this year, they actually wrote to me that we are about to start the investigation, and since you are the person who petitioned, we want to begin with you. Understand the case. There may be something in the that is not in the petition that may not have even made it to the documentary. After the meeting, they sent me an email, and the email said, we are asking for preparatory, we are doing this to get preparatory information to start the investigation. And
when was this email sent?
Come again?
When was this email sent?
This email was sent on the 5th of February 2025.
Okay.
From the Office of the Special Prosecutor. They have not denied that. And I also secured a diary of action taken on the SML case. And then on the 30th of January, the first entry into that diary was the 29th of January. On the 30th, a supervisor or superior wrote that please proceed with the preliminary investigation needs and prepare an investigation plan and identify the persons of interest we will need to interview and appropriate departments and agencies to provide information. This was entered on the 30th of January 2025. So you cannot claim to have started an investigation in 2023. And in 2025, you are saying that let's proceed with preliminary investigation. Let's prepare an investigation plan. Let's identify persons of interest and institutions that should give us information in this investigation. And Samed Ako had said in response to my earlier publication that when Ernest Corey, the man charged together with Ken Ofori-Atta, was leaving Ghana, they did not know he was a person of interest. And he left almost a year after they received the petition. So I had cause to doubt them. They claimed they had saved $2.7 billion as a result of the SML investigation. The facts of the matter is that the entire contract sum was about $500 million. Nothing close to $2.7 billion.
Okay.
By the time the special prosecutor finished his investigation, 2 of the contracts were cancelled. 2 had been suspended. The only payments that were being made to SML at the time was $1.6 million a year for the downstream sector contract. And 2 years had already passed. So even if we were to take the $500 million that was saved, OSP's contribution is very minimal. 2, there was no $2.7 billion anywhere. Kissia Jabe told me that that figure came from a PPA report, and then when a PPA approval letter, when I published the letter, there was nothing of that sort, and they have now gone back to the same figure I said, the 500 million.
Manasseh,
so if you put all of this together, and then what we are seeing, whatever comes from that office, I will be more critical about it than I was before.
Manasseh Azure